that kind of is accurate
No,
question
not the
you would
knowledge,
want to ask?
not the knowledge of, the grounding of. Okay, I'll say it again. People have the ability to understand various things, but can they ground why it is? Atheists can be moral. Atheists can use logic. Atheists can count. Can they ground their morality, their rationality, their counting? Okay, that's the thing. It's a very simple way of saying it. Can they ground it? Can they provide or establish a perspective or set of actualities, rational ones, that provide the undergirding foundation for those positions? Okay?
Okay. All right. And that's the question I want to answer. And the answer to that is that all of our ideas, and part of that is knowledge, is grounded in concepts that we generate in our own minds based on our observations of reality. And there's nothing beyond that. There's no external, like what are called Platonic ideals of things existing in the universe beyond our minds. So one thing I wanted to say is I think, okay.
You're saying you're grounding it in observation, which you're then presupposing that what you observe actually represents reality. You're presupposing that your senses are accurate. It's called empiricism. And empiricism has lots of problems because it's subjective. How do you know what sense awareness you have of the environment is the same sense awareness somebody else has? For you to say that it just is can't be grounded because your experience is subjective and not universal. This is one of the reasons.
I understand that.
All right.
But
so that's not a valid option.
Okay. Well, let me read my response to why a concept is universal or why you asked the question, why is in the example, it was, why is the example of the two universal between minds? Right. And this is my answer. The concept is not universal. What is happening is that different people with different rational minds are generating nearly identical concepts in their minds based on their individual observations and experiences of reality. The reason the concepts are in harmony is that the concepts formed by each individual correspond to the same mutually shared reality of the existing universe. This is why people will disagree on more complex subjects. Two is a simple enough concept that most people can easily generate a useful and accurate concept of it, and their ideas will conform with each other. However, for more complex subjects and concepts, people will have different abilities to form accurate mental constructs. And the example I would give is a car. Now, there are different levels. Car is a concept like two is a concept.
Well, hold on. Okay, you're going on for quite a bit. I need to interject and just say all you're doing is begging the question. You're just going back to the issue of empiricism. You say these concepts are generated, or these nearly identical concepts are generated based on basically what they observe. This is empiricism.
Right. So
hold on.
Okay.
I already told you what the problem with empiricism is. Okay, let me do it again.
Sorry,
I often have to explain this over and over to people who don't have a biblical worldview because they are beginning with their legs tied together and they're trying to enter into a race with a Christian logician theologian. They can't compete. But they don't know they can't compete because their worldview is insufficient. The Christian worldview is complete and provides the ultimate authority, which rests in God's nature. What you're doing is trying to wrest ultimate authority and truth values and epistemological issues in human concepts and human level. So you're automatically not in a God perspective. You're a humanist. And when you say that generating concepts, we generate them because of based on observations, then what you're saying is there is a universal concept that relates to actuality from a physical sense. Then what is that bridge between the actuality that exists and the concept? Why is it that one person whose senses are different than your senses would come up with the same thing? If epistemological issues are based on empiricism, then it would imply then that the subjectivity of experience and perception somehow has a universal awareness. But that's self-refuting because subjective experience cannot be universal. So empiricism is self-refuting in that sense.
All right. So let's deal with, so you want to move to the topic of empiricism, which I would like to defend. Would you agree that there is an external reality to be observed, that God has created the universe and it actually exists?
Of course.
Would you agree that our senses are capable, at least at some level, of observing this universe and basically forming concepts about what we're observing in our minds? Can our minds do that? Can we observe the universe and form concepts of its actuality in our minds?
That's the problem. The question is, can you? How do you know that what you observe is actual? So here's an illustration I give to people when we discuss these things, how empiricism is based upon observation and then conclusions based on observation. A man is walking down a road. To the left, 5 feet is a cliff. To the right, 5 feet is a forest. And this road, this path, is 1,000 feet long. He's walking down this path, and a tiger jumps out at him from the forest. He ducks. The tiger goes over the cliff, and the man's idea is all I have to do is duck whenever a tiger jumps at me. He's observing this, and he's drawing a conclusion based on his observation. He goes on, and he wants to test his theory, and lo and behold, 100 feet later, the second tiger jumps, he ducks again, goes over the cliff, the man is saved. He concludes that his ducking is what saves him. But it's incorrect. It's only part of the solution, but the condition only works in that particular environment. So observation depends on your environment and the rationale that you put with it. This is why empiricism is weak. You can't base knowledge on empiricism. You have to be able to test it, and you have to be able to test it in a way that's consistent and outside of yourself. Hold on. And in order to do that, you have to impose rationalism, which is that knowledge is gained through rational means. So I'm just trying to show you empiricism and rationalism are bedfellows, but they each have to have presuppositions. And then what justifies the presuppositions? Look, I've had these conversations a million times, okay?
Right.
You're new at this.
I think you're still, I want to be polite, but I think you're failing, because empiricism can be used. Okay, well,
you don't understand. You don't understand. I'm not saying you can't look at something and learn. I'm saying, and this is what you guys don't get. You can't justify ultimate knowledge using empiricism.
I think you can, because let's say you generate a concept of two.
Tell me, what's ultimate? What's ultimate knowledge?
What's ultimate is God and the reality that he's created.
But then empiricism can't be used because God is not determined or known empirically. You're different categories. Hold on. Look, if your ultimate is God and yet you want to be an empiricist, then you're saying that empiricism has to be that which judges God and the truth values that come out of his nature and his essence. And that's a category error.
Empiricism is not a total answer, but it can be used to establish some truth. It's
really?
Not every truth,
then let me ask you, if empiricism is true, did you use empiricism to validate empiricism?
You have to use some.
Did you
rational? You have to use.
Did you use empiricism?
You use rational ideas.
If you don't use empiricism to validate empiricism, then you refute empiricism. If you use rational, let me finish. If you use something else to validate empiricism, then empiricism is invalidated because it depends on something else. Empiricism is not the way you want to go to determine ultimate truth. It can only give you theoretical ideas of truth, but you don't even know if those are right because they're not grounded in anything other than the empirical method, which ultimately is self-refuting. You got to study this.
I guess I guess what I'm arguing is that you're arguing this general concept of empiricism. What I'm arguing is that we can use our senses to gain an accurate understanding of reality at a basic level.
How do you know? E equals MC squared. E equals MC squared is an accurate representation of reality, but it's not determined by your senses. It's determined.
It's not because it's not. Empiricism is not a complete answer to all. We can use what's called rationality as an adjunct to empiricism.
You do me a favor, buddy. Just do me a quick favor. Put your hand in front of your face. Okay.
Okay.
Look to your left. Okay. Now, just slap yourself upside the head several times. Get this out of your head.
Let me ask one more question, Matt. If our senses cannot be used as an accurate determination,
you didn't hear me. You did not hear me. You don't listen to me. You keep.
Okay. Well, if we can't trust our senses.
No, I didn't say that, Anthony. You don't listen. You don't listen. I didn't say you can't use your senses or you can't trust your senses. I keep telling you your senses are not the basis for ultimate truth. Ultimate, ultimate. It's not the basis of ultimate truth. Okay?
It's not. You're right.
You keep misrepresenting me. You don't understand what I'm saying. This is very difficult for a lot of people who aren't Christians.
I'm not arguing that empiricism is a basis for ultimate truth. I'm arguing that our senses.
Dude, that's what we're talking about. Okay, buddy, call back another time, man. You got to listen to what's said.
Continue this conversation.
Okay, he's got to listen to what's said, and he's not listening, which is often the case with non-believers. Hey, folks, we'll be right back. 3 open lines, 877.